Hey, I'm Josh,
I'm Frank.
and you're watching the House of Plum, episode 2.
Welcome back. You can see that we have some familiar faces here. Tom and Aaron are back. We got a newcomer to the show. His name is what? Aaron. We were going to make this like a sketch comedy thing, but obviously that's not going to work out too well.
So we're going to go the variety way.
Yeah.
So today we're going to have a topic discussion. Is going to be social media, like video games, movies, and maybe some celebrities too, because I got a lot of stuff to talk about when it comes to some celebrities.
Yeah, we got a whole hour to do it today, so I'm sure we'll come up with other ideas. I'm sure Tom and Aaron will actually say something this time around.
You'll have our inputs and debates with you.
Okay.
Oh, sure. We'll throw a
But
word
no,
or
they
two
did
in.
a lot last time. But anyway, yeah. So, what are we gonna talk about?
Well, one of the things I want to bring up is some video games. I played, goodness, I'm trying to remember
Saint
what.
Rose, you
Yeah,
said?
Saints Row. All right, I played the last Saints Row. Did not like the movie, the game movie. I get
The ending.
the ending whatsoever. Oh my goodness, I was so angry to find out at the end that they were able to go back in time or whatever, and it's like I figured the whole that just should open it up for another one. But then again, they made this one so crappy that it was like they just decided to say, screw it. We're not going to do anything with this. We're just going to make it whatever you want it.
I thought you said that was the Call of Duty game.
Oh, no. The Call of Duty game is...
There's a lot more to it, yeah.
Yeah,
there's depth there that, other games don't really have. It's been around for, a couple of years now.
Yeah, well, the newest one is like not even a year old yet.
The newest one's not a year old yet, but the Call of Duty franchise has been around for a while. For probably a good, say, 3.5, 4.
Longer than that.
Well, I mean,
Well,
you take in consideration the difference between each Call of Duty and then the difference between, they say that Battlefield is indifferent to Call of Duty, and yet, in a way, there's a lot of similarities and differences in each and every game. It's firing style, tactics, use of materials, depth even. To each his own, but as far as it's concerned, if you take a real good look, there's very little similarities compared to differences. And yet, on top of all that, any action many people would say are all the same, but there's a lot of disagreements in that.
I never played the latest ones, but I think I did play Call of Duty 3. Are they similar, or?
Call of Duty 3 was a decent game. There was a lot of faults to it and a lot of ups, but I guess you can say that the newest Call of Duty is a lot better than Call of Duty 3, just because of the fact that there's a lot more depth behind individualizing your character, and then the playthrough in itself is individualized. With Call of Duty 3, there's depth, but they took it a step further with Ghost, the new one.
I'm not too thrilled with Ghost too much. I like the storyline, but when it comes to like their survival mode, it's almost like they were copying off of Black Ops with the zombies, and I'm not too thrilled about that. I mean, like, if they would have had that and maybe, or an option to not fight aliens like you would the zombies, that would be a lot better.
Honestly, with the zombies and then the aliens, the differences are quite numerous to calculate, but as far as it's concerned with the zombies and aliens, as far as considered, the aliens is a nice twist. However, they did it quite poorly In all reality, they could have done a lot better with the zombies than they did with the aliens. They probably should have stuck with the zombies.
Seems like a lot of video games these days have zombies and aliens in them.
Yeah, I've noticed that through the time, like, it was more like horror movies were something that you watched because you wanted to get scared once in a while.
Yep.
Whatever you want to watch now, it doesn't matter if it's a video game, movie, or TV show. It has anything to do with witches, zombies, vampires. I mean, when I was growing up, a vampire spontaneously exploded when it hit sunlight. Now they sparkle and shine like divas.
And they start on fire.
What is the scariest video game out there, and what is the most original scariest video game?
Oh, God, no.
Oh, I think the most scariest video game I played.
Friday the 13th.
That's
Resident
pitiful.
Evil.
There is no Friday the
No,
13th.
I'm
no.
afraid to play in the dark.
On the Commodore
so-
64.
Which game will give you the EBGBs you can't play alone?
I would probably have to say the original Silent Hill for PlayStation 1. The original PlayStation 1, the very first one.
Is that related to the movie Silent Hill that came out a few years ago?
It was made before the movie.
It
Okay.
had
So
a
they based the movie off the video
Off
game?
the video.
Yeah.
That happens a lot nowadays, it seems.
It's had quite a few references and similarities, but it was actually the movie based off the game. However, they didn't quite get all they had their own opinions, and that's what they applied to it.
That and the original Resident Evil game.
What about Dead Space? I heard that one was kind of creepy.
It's
never
the way
played
they
that
did
one.
it,
Never played it.
actually.
No.
No.
It's the way they did it. They tried to alter its appearance, but as far as it's concerned, it's just another zombie game.
Okay.
That's the easiest way to say it, because of the fact that if you, I've played like one or two of them, and honestly, it got boring because of the fact that it was just another zombie game. The differences are so numerous, and yet the way they actually put the thing together was just sloppy. I mean, if you take in consideration the way they actually started out, the whole sequence goes, you first start flipping out, going psychotic, and then get to the point to where you're exposed to something and you mutate, or you're already exposed to something, you slowly go psychotic, and then you mutate. The chain of events are just, yeah, it's just another zombie game.
So,
So,
Tom,
set
so
in
I
space.
take it you all play a lot of these first-person MMO games, right?
I was just going to ask you about what about an R day? Like, what you thought?
Well, my thing about today's games, that's why I don't play. I can't play the first-person MMO games. I get nauseous, and I get physically ill from doing that. So pretty much since they came out with the first ones, which actually I did probably about 95 when Doom came out.
I remember that one.
That was fun.
And that
Yeah,
was like
that
the
was
first.
fun.
Yeah.
I played that for a couple hours, and it made me nauseous and sick, and that was it. I was done. And it
Problem is-
wasn't because of what I was seeing or anything like that. It was that perspective.
Yeah.
You know, you're looking into a screen on that, and I'm done. I can't play it.
So is that a requirement now for some video games
It-
to take a motion
They're
sickness
all
pill
shooter
before you
games
play
now,
to
though.
avoid that?
Well,
It should.
they tell you that
Or a seizure.
you may get sick, or if you have seizures or whatever.
It is in the
not to
guidelines,
play.
yes, but still, it
I
shouldn't
never
be.
knew video games had hazard warnings, health warnings.
It's
but-
not necessarily hazard warning.
Well, these
It's
days
through
they
the
probably do.
it's actually through the FCC guidelines. You know, the whole this may contain violence, blood, gore, sexual themes, whatnot. But the problem about that is that, again, it's just a whole indifference. How each person views a video game is different, and honestly, Doom, the first, it was quite an interesting step forward because of the first-person shooter. But not only that, it was also considered a pioneer step
Because
Okay?
it was the first live action,
It was
first person.
It was the literal first person game.
Yeah, you saw it from
And
their eyes.
yeah,
Well, what
Now
about-
there were a lot of games before that had
What
that, but
about
they
Duck
weren't
Hunt?
live motion. They were all
Duck Hunt wasn't.
pictures.
Duck Hunt was a lot different. Duck Hunt was like
A
from the view of the
scroll
barrel.
screen.
Pop. Okay.
Oh, was
pop,
that scrolling?
Pop.
No.
I don't think I've really ever
It-
played it. I just remember being
It was full frame, basically. You couldn't even see the barrel of the gun. It was just one full screen. Duck go up, duck go down, move up, and get it
Okay.
before it goes.
Everyone
But
raise
I
your
never really
hand
played it,
if
I
you
just
stood
remember
in front of
seeing
the
it.
screen, and you put the gun right up in front of the screen, so
Yeah.
you didn't always hit every single one, and you still missed. Raise your hand.
Yeah.
I remember those back to duck games we had for the old Ataris, man, trying to shoot it.
Oh,
You'd be
they're-
like right
they're-
there and it'd miss. How did
I
they
can
miss?
go back. I can go back to even Dr. Mario was a fun game, but that
I
was
don't
like,
remember that one.
that was for.
Oh, that's just a knockoff of Tetris. I don't like Tetris.
It was
You don't?
an interesting.
No.
It was
I
an
do.
interesting knockoff of Tetris though, because it was all singles, not doubles, not triples. You don't got the weird shapes. You just got basically a two-piece structure that you have to match up with everything else.
All it is
It-
Doc Mario just throwing drugs at you.
Actually, if
no.
you take consideration, it's actually primitive form of Bejeweled, computer game.
There's like
Because you
hundreds of
basically-
thousands of variations of that game now.
Because you basically got to line up each individual piece just to knock off a couple of things and move along. You've got to go from a full statute of items to nothing.
I think
but-
all those games are copying off of Tetris.
If you take in consideration that Tetris actually started out as a board game, yes, it probably was. But entirely, it was an interesting form of Tetris. I can say that. But
What about Pong? What happened to them?
Pong
Oh.
faded a long time ago.
And
I
it
hate
had
to
its
say
15
I
minutes of
hate to
fame.
sound rude, but it was around for a good 2 years, and then when game people started saying, "Well, we got this far. How far can we actually push it?" That's when they started changing their idea of things.
Brick Attack.
But yeah, there's
Breakout.
Let's break out. And,
Yeah.
Super Breakout.
Breakout. Then there's that. What's that game? They have the little bar on the bottom.
Arkanoid?
Is that what that's called? You had the
think
little
so.
ball that bounced around on the little bar that you had to move from side to side. and
I
you had
think
to
that's
knock
what it
every
was. I
block
think it was
out.
That's
Arkanoid.
breakout.
Okay.
Because you had to get the ball to go up on the top, and
think-
then it would just be bouncing around at the
Yeah.
top, and then fall back down. The idea was to hit all the bricks.
I think
Aaron some more coffee.
Oh, I thank you.
It's not
I
very
think
good.
Arkanoid was
Now I don't have to lean over to get my coat.
variation.
It's not very hot.
Gracias.
Well, just saying.
All right.
So yeah,
Not-
I'm an old school player. I don't play video games nowadays. So for you guys to talk about all these newer games, it's kind of like I said. Doom was probably the last
I-
real game I ever played.
I can quite literally say that all the systems, in their own way, actually have their positive and negatives as far as the thought's concerned.
Sega Genesis.
It goes back to the original, the Atari. The Atari was interesting, for the time it was out, and then they just started looking into, well, again, if we can do this, how far can we push it?
Wow.
Well, see, that's the thing for me is that games in my days left a lot to the imagination.
Yeah.
Today's video games
Not too much,
leave
yeah.
nothing to the imagination. And that's
Well-
kind of a bad thing when you think about it. I mean, the idea is to grow
But-
your imagination, not
All,
diminish
all we
it.
Well-
had were dots and squares and
I can debate that. There are very creative games. Look at Little Big Planet.
Portal.
That one you can create your levels, create your character, and it's infinite. You can play
Well-
other people's levels that they've created.
but the problem
Well,
Minecraft.
it's not,
Very imaginative.
it's not a matter of the sophistication of the
Stop
game.
moving around?
It's a matter of
Oh.
well, see now we got to edit that out. He ruined our
That better?
conversation.
Keep it in.
No, there's a lot to it. There's, with the imagination portion, there's even thought process behind it. There's puzzles out there. There's games out there that actually stimulate the mind in certain ways.
Yeah.
I mean, there's, like I mentioned, Portals. It's basically about a game to where you're basically, it's a rip-off of a first-person shooter. However, in the altercation, you're not shooting bullets. You're just trying to get from one location to another by, yeah, it's an alteration of a firing game because you're basically creating a portal one place to get you to another just so you can continue on the game. It's a big puzzle. It's
problem
a
is
lot of thinking.
the newer games that come out, I'd say like 70 to 80% of them are first shooter person games.
Yeah.
So
Well, I'm not even talking about first-person shooters. Just the complexity of today's video games. I mean, when I see commercials on TV, they look like a trailer for a movie rather than a video game.
Yeah.
It's kind of melding the idea of bringing a story or a movie into a video game where you actually can interact with it, rather than back in my day you had video games like Pac-Man, but maybe even some more that were like racing games and stuff like that. But the graphics weren't so great. It left something to the imagination of, especially children and
and the
young
beauty of
adults.
those games is you can go back 30 years later and they're still fun. You know?
Well,
Right,
yeah.
right. I still like my old video games. I still play them from time to time. So.
And honestly, I find a lot of truth in that. With the complexity of games nowadays, they've been made too easily. I understand that, and I see that in a lot
games
of games. I mean, just
today
like,
aren't bad. They're just a lot different than what they used to
well,
be.
taking consideration, last 3 games I played, probably Assassin's Creed, which is the newest one, the Black Flag. That was an excellent game. However, again, you know, there was the positive side. There was a lot of freedom to do what you needed to do. You know, you could.
Except for going out of a barrier wall where your memory sequence isn't up to date yet.
Yeah, that was a big issue, and that still is a big issue. And honestly, I really hope they continue this series because it's a really good series. However, you know, like I said, there's a lot of stuff that can be modified on certain things. The adding of the extension of the game being that in the newest one, your ship, your boat, is an extension of you. In that reaction, you know, you can turn around and sail off where you want to go. You're not actually in guideline to go into a particular spot. However, it does add a lot of change to the game because instead of going 1, 2, 3, you can go 1, 3, and 2, or however you want to mix it up. As far as it's concerned, after you do an additional starter, you know, it's like free roam.
Oh, kind of
It's
like
like
how the
GTA.
cameras are.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
Yep. And
You know, one of the things I like the most about, you know, from the Assassin's Creed games, I like the how they take their storyline and they kind of intermingle it
to the missions.
with historical events that happen, and
Yeah.
it, you know, it's like, what if it happened this way?
Yeah, that storyline is actually fun to play around with as far as it's concerned. It's kind of like going back to Saints Row. You can turn around and alter, you know, as you're going through the storyline, you can actually turn around and change events around to be something other than what they are.
So what happened
Yeah.
when games were simple, when Mario had to rescue the princess? You know?
That
They got more complicated.
those games were
Those were games.
No,
I
yeah,
mean,
they were games, but they were basics.
But today's games aren't really games anymore. They're stories. They're interactive storylines with
Yeah.
plots and subplots, and
it
that's
gets to the
whole
point
of-
though. It gets to the point to where it's like, it's not plots among plots. It's more of
Well, take
how
this
can
guy.
we make this
Ta-
game better?
Take this guy for example.
Yeah.
So since we use our prop here, take
Yeah,
this guy for
our little
example.
prop.
What's his story?
Assassin's Creed.
His story.
He was
He climbs walls.
his
He climbs walls
His-
quite well. Yes.
his father was actually a Templar, and in the Assassin's Creed games, the Templars are kind of like
Enemies, bad guys.
the bad guys of the assassins, where the assassins want to seek peace, the Templars want to seek, you know, control and domination. And how his father met his mother. His mother was a prisoner, and
His father set him her free.
father set her free, and she was helping him find what was the thing called?
It was known as the apple at that
Yeah,
time.
the apple.
The game.
The apple
consideration.
of was it the apple, of Eden? Okay.
Okay.
And
Did she eat the apple?
No.
well, no, it's a
It's an orb.
it's an
orb,
orb.
okay.
It's like a device
sphere
that
with power that technically in the game consideration it was an orb that was able to slow down or control a section of mind, but the game plots always changed again with the way you played the story.
So definitely a more complex world for him.
And
with,
it-
Well, yeah, but
with all kinds of characters and missions that he has to
Yeah.
accomplish.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, here's another thing. What about the future of these games? I mean, obviously this first-person, game view is very popular. I mean, when you're talking about practically virtual reality games on your television, do you see them ever coming up with, taking the next step and building game machines that you
You can actually walk in, or maybe
wear like a helmet, and basically be enveloped in it.
Well,
Virtual reality.
Virtual. I mean,
I would rather see
when do
like
these two gonna merge?
holograms.
When-
Like if you'd be able to walk in a room and
They-
actually be a part of it.
they've
Right.
actually played with that thought an awfully lot, honestly. I've seen a lot of different types of add-ons to the actual console that you can turn around and plug in, and you got a nice little sleeve with buttons on it. You move a certain way, it does
I've seen
this.
some of that.
It-
like
Look at
I
the
think
Wii
they're-
system
Yeah,
already.
I
Yeah, look
think
at
they're
that. You
starting
get a
to do that
controller
with
that
the
you can
Wii
actually-
and the Kinect.
The Wii, the Xbox. The Xbox has been like that since the beginning of actually Xbox 360. They've started toying around with that feature right after they got rid of the original Xbox 360s and started doing the Slims and the Kinect feature. Those games actually started out as a introverted version of you becoming the remote.
So more like an
However-
avatar.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
More of a sense, an avatar is coming more realistic. now.
it's getting to the point, yes,
Right.
to where you're part of the
You're
game.
still facing a screen. You're still not enveloped in it yet. Other than you are controlling what's going on the screen, you're not, sensing that what's going on the screen coming to you.
No, you don't.
infecting you.
You don't have the
That's-
interaction yet. No, you
Right.
don't have the actual
Do you see
feeling
that?
of the game.
Do you see
No.
that going that way? You don't see that going that way?
Honestly, if they get
I
that
think
far,
it is leading to it.
i-
Yeah.
if they get that far, it's going to be a little, because until they actually fine tune what they've got now, it's going to be kind of iffy.
I mean, it seems that's what they're trying to do, is develop games that
Yep.
pull you in.
They're
farther
trying to
and
get the
farther.
immersion.
The immersion, right? The immersion. How immersed can you be? How close to
How
this
long can you play
be?
this game for a period of time is what they're trying to get out of you. And actually, I think that's kind of a wrong way to go about it, because as far as it's concerned, it's creating the wrong popularity.
Right, and honestly, being somebody who played games in the old school games, up until these games, that's what made me kind of
Yeah.
be not
Iffy.
be interested anymore.
Yeah.
That's why I still like the old school Pac-Man, Donkey Kong,
Yeah.
all those old games. That's why I consider those video games in today's
I
world.
still-
It's not video games anymore.
You ever go to
It's-
Mega Play?
Huh? Oh, yeah. Well, I have a 20-year-old son who's definitely immersed in
I love
like
going.
today's
I-
gaming
video
world.
games.
I go
Yeah.
there all the time. I love going there and playing games.
Honestly, I can say that I've played
I
a
don't care
lot
how
of
old I am.
a lot of games in my 27-year lifespan, and I can go back as far as playing the Atari, yes, but I didn't quite play it as much as the beginning Nintendo systems up until the N64. I played that a lot more than I played anything else. And let me tell you, I can agree with the facts. They were a lot more fun. They were easier to play around with, yes. But the immersion quality, the original reaction was like, how can we get more action out of the person than, the N64, the Atari, the imagination portion. No, they want more of how can we get this person excited about the next following game.
I even think the old school games, when they were then, were rather addictive and enveloping in their own sense.
Yeah.
Because obviously, you're 27 years old, I'm 45, so I actually grew up during those
That
video
period,
game,
right.
early video game, evolution, and it was immersing. It was.
It was
you know,
eye-catching, but the
Oh,
thing about
more
it
than
is
that.
that
Yeah,
the
it's-
actual growth of technology, the way you take in consideration the game consoles evolving, you know, they
Oh,
had
the
to
technology itself.
evolve the way the person reacts to it. They had to change up how the game was seen to a more, ooh, I want to play that now, more than, I just can't wait until that game comes out.
Yeah.
You know, it's an aspect that many people don't really see because I guess you can say it was an indifference then, more or less, because as, like I said, technology evolves, the point of view of anyone who can literally take themselves out of the situation and see what game, you know, consoles are trying to do. They're trying to draw people in more and more, just like.
So for a lot of video games, sometimes the game won't appeal to me, but I'll think about the music, the soundtrack, and I can see, look where it started from before, just a little computer ding boing boing, you know, pixelated music,
Yeah.
I call it. And now, look at now, we have Snoop Dogg on Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah.
Where,
that's
where's the
another-
music industry
my
going
God,
to
I love
finally
that game
mix with
so
the video
much.
games?
That's another depth in itself because
If they had video games that went with albums, maybe. Could you imagine that?
Well, I know when you play the Need for Speed games, they actually have really decent soundtracks.
Yeah.
Like I've owned several different Need for Speed games, and like they would have like their default music like when you race, but like you can hear legit like, you know, artists that are out there like anywhere between techno, hip hop, and rock. I mean, like
you could even, if you're smart enough about it and clever enough, you can turn around and pop in your own CDs, copy them to your hard drive, and be playing that while you're playing any game. I mean, you can be playing Grand Theft Auto while listening to, you know, what's his name? Black Eyed Peas, Will I Am.
Yeah, we
You can
used to
turn
do
around
that
and
as kids. Just turn the sound off on the video game, and we'd play
Be playing your
Metallica
music,
or something
yeah,
in
be
the
playing your
background.
music
And
through
it'd
an
be much
alternate
more
device.
adventurous, a better game that way, with your own soundtrack.
But as far as it's concerned, you can turn around and immerse yourself with all that technology now because it's already there. It's sitting in front of you. The next game console comes out. It's like, hey, I wonder how far I can do that. How far I can take this game console. You know, turn around and fill it up with music and turn around and start playing games.
I was going to ask, what do you think of the difference between like the PlayStation 4 and 3 and the two new Xboxes coming out?
Yeah,
I mean,
there's
Is
a lot
there
to it.
like a big difference between the
Oh,
two?
there-
or
there's-
huge difference.
You
how
know,
can they make the games even better than they already are with the new systems?
Graphics. It's all they tried to get you with the graphics.
Yeah.
But with me, I'm the type of person that I actually like that movie-like storyline because the way that they make games now, they give you the chance to choose on like what you want to do. Like for Fable.
yeah,
You
you
can
can
choose,
turn around and change
you
your
can choose
character
to
from
have
light
your,
to dark.
Yeah, you can choose to either have your character to be good, bad,
Or indifferent.
neutral.
Yeah, and actually that aspect is slowly fading. However, you know, like you all were bringing up, the newer consoles, the differences and similarities, there's a lot of each. If you take in consideration the PS3 and then the PS4, the graphics is a big jump, yes. But, you know, if you turn around and set PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360, and I know a lot of people will disagree with me on this, but, you know, it's all on the particular game. You turn around and play Assassin's Creed on the PlayStation and play it on the Xbox, you'll turn around and see not only the differences in the way the controls are laid out, but the differences in quality, the differences in how the game actually reacts to the actual person. You know,
What about live networks? Can you compare those and tell us the difference between the live network of
the live networks
PlayStation
actually.
and Xbox Live?
Xbox, you have to pay for a membership, and what that pretty much does is it ensures your security. So, like, you know, like if your profile got hacked, not only you'll get notified, but you'll get kickback on top of that. But PlayStation is an open everybody network where anybody can get online.
And don't get me wrong, both systems in itself, if you're playing offline in general or even online, they have good qualities and bad qualities.
And Wii has one similar to that too, but it's not as grand. They're more into like
the
The
Wii U.
Sims.
The
Sims.
Wii is actually a lesser of the two because it's necessarily connected, yes, but the qualifications are a lot low. You don't need actual, you don't have individualized profiles. You don't have individualized setups. You don't have, you know, literal access to internet. You may have semi-access like you do on a phone
Okay.
or something like that, but you don't have literal access like
It's pretty much you
an
can just
Xbox.
browse
Yeah.
the web, check the weather, and then
You can do minor things, yeah. It's all app oriented instead of like Xbox 360 has it set up to where it's like one of the little tiles. If you have it set up that way, it's a personal preference. You know, you can turn around and have the PlayStation the same way. It's all in personal preferences. However, with any game system, there is a limitation, yes. The only guarantee you get out of the two is, you know, if you get hacked by Xbox in your profile and, you know, Xbox finds out, they'll not only make a case out of it, but they'll turn around and actually compensate you for that hacking.
Yeah, they'll actually give you
They'll give
money.
They'll give you
Oh,
points and
speaking
guarantees.
of hacking, I've heard on the newest Grand Theft Auto, there were some cheaters, and they took their money away, and now people are
Yeah, I
all
think
sore, like, oh, we're not
Yeah,
going to play anymore.
even
I think I
So
heard
what's
that
up
too.
with that? Why am I
Even-
hearing all these people whining?
Well, what
Well-
happened was somebody figured out how to duplicate the money on Grand Theft Auto, and there were a lot of different modding, you know, parties that would go out, and you would
What
literally,
is a
literally
modding party? I don't
Oh,
understand that.
The modding party is basically it's basically in itself a party where a bunch of people who know how to
Modify.
modify or cheat.
override certain protocols in the game to modify their standard. Okay, so the highest you can put a bounty on someone in Grand Theft Auto in any console, as far as I can understand, is 9,000. Well, some people get 10 million, you know, 25, something like that, actual beyond the limits of what's set bounties on them, and then someone turns around and just pops them, gives them the money, or you know whatnot, you know, and that's a complete and utter.
Is there some kind of bank on the video game that can monitor the...
They try, but you know,
Yeah.
as far as it's concerned,
You do have a
know,
bank account
yeah,
in the game.
you do.
So like if I have like $20,000 on me, every time your guy dies, he keeps on dropping money. So
yeah.
you put your money in the bank account, you don't drop money.
Okay.
But the difference is like when your car gets impounded, you got to turn around and have money on you just to take your car out. The modification of the game is actually quite interesting because of the way they actually incorporate the game itself. They have, yes, security protocols in place, but certain people know how to bypass those. And it gets to the point to where it's not even funny. I mean, I've seen it happen to a couple of friends of mine, and it's even happened to me.
Yeah, I had quite a bit of money taken away.
I've gotten one hit put on me, and someone turned around and killed me, and I'm like, okay. And I'm like, I don't even know how I even got the bounty in the first place. Someone put it on me and
So you were
got
hacked
killed.
by your own video game?
No, it's not hack. It's not
Okay.
necessarily a hack. It's necessarily someone turns around and modifies the game to their, like I said earlier, it's just a modification.
So in a sense, we're still being creative in these new video games.
Yeah.
In a sense, yes, but
Illegally, but yeah.
it's being completely and utterly frowned upon in pretty much any gaming circle, because it becomes a great irritation to where you get one hit put on you, and then you turn around and lose not only all the money that you were given for no reason.
No, these are the
but-
online games, aren't they?
Huh?
These
Yeah.
are the
These are
online.
the-
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
online
live.
games.
Yeah,
Plays
live.
live.
Right.
Certain online games, you know,
But
are
you
kind
can
of.
choose who's in your party, so can't you choose, or like,
Ye-
unless your friend's an undercover
But
modifier, is that what you call it? How
uh,
would you know?
They just tell you that they mod.
and
Oh,
that's
okay.
sometimes after the fact. I mean, I got hit with the bounty after after a few minutes of playing with one of my ex-friends, and yeah, I got hit with the bounty and I didn't even know it, and then I got somehow twice the amount that's possible for the game to have a hit on, and I'm like, okay. Oh yeah, by the way, I'm a modder, and I just gave you that. I'm like, okay, why? I didn't want it. And I turned around and lost.
So why
yeah.
haven't the gamers, if this is an online game and they're somehow hacking the servers on, that's controlling
Well, it's not
online
even
games?
it's not even
Yeah.
hacking the server. They're just turning around and
They're
modifying.
Modifying their
Modifying it.
own console
Yeah,
game?
they're modifying
Yeah.
their own
Their
game.
own console game,
It-
and that allows that to happen.
It's kind of in a dulled down sense. A console is basically just a glorified laptop.
Right, it's just a
with-
computer, right,
but
running
the
its
thing-
own software.
The thing about it is that the software is made to where, you know, it can be updated periodically.
Mm-hmm.
And with that open door, you know, it leaves it open to where if someone's smart
Variables
enough,
can
they
be
can turn
changed.
around and
Variables can be modified,
Yeah,
limits can be overrun.
right, right. It's all a matter of how far you can go with the game.
Being a programmer, I kind of understand that, but you know, I'm talking old school programming.
Oh yeah,
Not today's.
But see, that's the thing. Old school
Pascal.
programming is
Yeah.
kind of like new school programming. The only difference is that
Yeah.
the new school programmers quite literally like to go backdoor hunting before they start hacking their own games.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the worst game out there right now? Like, the most terrible, you play it, you finish it in an hour, kind of.
Or the game you
Or
just
so
can't get into. You're just like,
easy,
wow.
or so
this is-
I still say
stupid.
it's E.T. from the Atari.
Oh yeah, that's actually I think
The worst video
the
game.
worst of the worst of the worst.
Uh-huh.
I think that was actually voted in a magazine as the worst video game ever published.
I think they dumped a lot of them in the New Mexico
Wow.
landmine too, or something like that.
I can't remember. There's been quite a few games that I thought were complete garbage, and
I
I'm-
can think
I'm not
of
even,
one.
I'm not even gonna get on naming them, but one of the things I want to ask you guys about, like annoying video game characters, like completely get on your nerves, like.
What's the name of that game? Come back to me. I'll think of the name of the game in a moment. Borderlands 2, the little robot from
Yeah.
Borderlands. He's quite annoying. He's
Yeah.
obnoxious. He just talks. He tells you to hurry up, and I'm sitting there listening, like, who is this robot?
Can you shut this thing off, please?
Where's the off button, please?
Oh, what about Ashley Graham from Resident Evil 4? There's been so many times she just got on my nerves and I just shot her on purpose, just because I wanted her to shut up.
Yeah, I've had those games. Most recently, when I was playing through Grand Theft Auto, that not Lester, Lamar. He gets on my nerves.
Oh my goodness, I don't like him either.
He acts like he's something and he's not, and he gets arrogant about it. But that's how they programmed it. And don't get me wrong, it's funny in many ways, but it's like, what are you trying to get at? Can you please stop like for 5 minutes so I don't just accidentally pull out my shotgun and pop.
Or what about the little fairy from
From Zelda?
Zelda?
Oh God, no!
Ocarina? Oh my
Oh,
goodness.
Kids love that game.
hey!
That was a pretty
Zelda.
great game.
I just
All
I
the
just wanted to
series.
bottle
I have
up
to say
that
that was
fairy
Great
and
fan
just
of
throw
Zelda.
it in some water and just
Cannot
leave
go
her.
wrong with Zelda.
Yeah,
People.
like
You know, Zelda's an excellent game, bar none. But you know, it gets kind of irritating after a while of hearing that thing saying, "Hey!" You know, it's like, okay, where's my bottle?
The biggest challenge I saw was, what was it? The Mask of Majora, when you kept having to go back in time, or the Ocarina of Time. So you
Ocarina
have
of
to do
Time.
certain missions on day and night, and then after a while you're lost. You're like, what day is it? What time is it? What
Yeah,
am I doing?
I
then
hated-
you have to start over
I
just to
hated
know what you're
Majora's
doing.
Mask so much. Like I literally wanted to take that game and just chuck it at the wall and just watch it explode into a million pieces.
I was playing that, and I had a hard time not laughing because of how ridiculous it was.
Or what about that weird guy with the
the
green
balloon,
hat
the
and with
goatee, the
oh my-
little
that guy was-
elfling dude
Ganon?
looked so gay.
No, no,
Ganon was the bad, evil.
No, not
No, he
not
wasn't.
Ganon.
No.
He's
Talking about the little map dude that always had the red
the
balloon
little.
coming
He
out of
wears
his
a
tail
green
end. He always
suit
wore
and has
green
a balloon.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
He's like a traveling pedophile. It's like, why are you following this little kid trying to give him maps? Like, seriously.
It was funny. It was funny, but it was completely and utterly retarded at the same time. It was one of those instances to where it's like, I don't know whether or not to just turn around and take out the little slingshot and pop him once in the face, or take out the sword and just chuck it at him.
So sometimes, you know, people, my boyfriend, you know, for example, he'll play video games, and some games are fun to watch and some are bad. Like Final Fantasy, for example. That one was just beautiful to watch. There was scenery, different kind of animals and creatures. The music was great. It was actually watching an adventure movie. While other games, for example, Grand Theft Auto, it's terrible to sit there and watch. You know, it's got slander, cussing, beating, shooting all the time, and you get anxiety watching it.
That's
As-
more
So
of a
what's
game
the-
to play than watch.
Yeah,
though.
what do you
Yeah.
feel
Yeah.
about the
You can't
differences
really sit
in
and
those
watch
kind of
Grand Theft
games?
Auto.
You know,
About for the watcher, the person next to the gamer, you know,
as far as
do they cater to that?
No.
Certain games do and certain games don't.
Yeah.
It all depends on what you're necessarily looking for. And actually, I would say that in certain games, in most games, if you can actually get both parties involved, I mean, yes, you might sit there and watch your boyfriend play games, or your husband, or what
or you
have
can be
you.
like a navigator
Or-
with maps.
well,
have like
yeah.
a sidekick there
Right.
to guide you on some
But
games.
Yeah, that's
I-
called my girlfriend with a strategy guide.
Yeah, those always work.
Actually, I find that more of a nuisance, strategy guides, but I find it better off to where if you can get both sides involved in the game. You know, it's like, yes, he's sitting here playing the game, but it's like if
Yeah.
you know, why not make certain games two-player, because
Yeah,
it just
that's the
defeats the
problem.
purpose.
Now-
It's like Fable. You know, that is necessarily offhand. If you are connecting other consoles to it, yes, that is more than a one-person game. But as far as it's concerned, if you try to play it on the same console, it kind of gets a nuisance.
Yes, like
And-
Nintendo, you could have up to 4 different players, and now
Yeah.
on the same console, and it'd be
It-
fine. With these new games, you can only have pretty much you have to have a console for every person,
Yeah.
unless you
And-
want to do a split screen. That's no fun.
And actually, if you take in consideration the new Wii U that's recently come out, and actually is interesting to see the progress of, but the design of the tablet that they added into that is a nice added feature, because if you're playing the newer Marios, or even, you know, the Mario Party, you know, the Mario Karts that they're now probably recreating for it,
Mario Karts are great.
yeah, it's been great for a while. I mean, you can go back to like the N64 and be playing Mario Kart and have a heck of a time
And
with it.
still have
I like
fun.
Double Dash
yes.
for the GameCube.
Double Dash was
That
fun,
is
yes.
so addicting.
Or like a Mario Party. That's a great game. You have 4
The-
players, but
The
And the
difference
for the newer
is
systems, you can't really have 4-player
The
games
difference
on the
is,
same
though,
house on the same TV.
with the Wii U, the Mario Party, they've modified it to where with the little tablet you can actually add stuff to it. You know, so as the person's going along and you know, the person needs anything in particular, you can just turn around and drag, drop, pop it in there, and it's like, hey, it's part of the game. It's just not right there, but it's still part of the game. You know, it's a self-modding game, basically, because you don't have to mod it. You're just adding what they give you.
Okay.
So the subjects today were all about games, and we talked about social. When you started the show, you said we were going to talk about social issues or
social media.
Social media.
You know, like
So
celebrities
is that a substitute for real socialization?
I
A
think
lot
it's
of people
becoming
see
that
it
way.
as,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. So when my son tells me, you know, you need to go out and hang with your friends and socialize, and he's like, I am socializing. They're playing. They're at home playing the game with me.
With the
Honest-
Bluetooth and the
Yeah, he's got the
Yeah.
headset on and talking to him, and he's sitting there playing the game. And
quit teabagging.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's socializing.
Yeah.
He's camping.
Yeah, that
I'd rather
all
go out
those
and do
terms.
stuff, to be
Yeah.
honest.
Right.
That's it,
that
all
kind of
the time.
stuff is kind of sociably bad. In fact, I find in general, if you want to get into that, I find in general texting and emails in a way, because it's furthering yourself from the person. Because
So
you know,
then you would put Facebook in
it-
that category too. Then.
Facebook,
Oh,
it-
Facebook gets on my nerves sometimes.
any
like,
particular type of, you know, any
Social
form of social
media.
media
It's not the
where you're
website.
going over some network just to communicate with someone. I mean,
But what about-
talking on the phone, yes, it's okay, but I find it better to socialize in person.
Well, what about people
Mhm.
who can't leave their house, and that's the only socialness,
Well, that's what's up with
socialization they
that.
can get?
well, they can always have somebody come to their house, but you know, there's no substitute for being around a real life person. But like when it comes to like social media and stuff like that, like one of the things that get on my nerves the most is like people that change their Facebook status like every like 5 seconds. Okay,
Yeah.
I don't care if you just took a poop. You don't need to put that on here. I don't care about, you know, I don't care about like
Having a blow-by-blow of your
Yeah,
daily
yeah,
life
I don't-
every single day. Hey, I'm having steak and potatoes for dinner. Here's a picture. Click. Oh,
Right.
yeah, I really didn't need to see that, and I really don't
Yeah.
care, and it's not going to
They-
affect
they-
my day whatsoever. So why
Thanks for
did
the
you?
tease.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like nice to know you're having steak and potatoes, and I'm sitting here with my hot, you know, my 99-cent package of hot dogs
Or
for
the best
dinner.
thing is, oh, I'm sad to see you sick, but yet I saw you yesterday just coughing and sneezing on
Yeah.
everyone. Thanks.
Good
a
thing
lot.
about Facebook, though, is being in touch with friends who live like
Far away.
5 states down.
has
or,
It's great
you
for
know,
networking.
they can-
It's
yeah.
great for
Networking.
networking. It's a great for a way to keep in touch with
local
people you don't
businesses.
see all
Yeah.
the time. Putting up certain events, using it to let people know about events.
Exactly.
Speaking of events,
Yeah, speaking of events, we are throwing a party for Valentine's Day at the State Theater. It'll be a great time. We have 4 bands, which is 1001, Broom Handle, Blaster Mine, and the Rain Dogs. And we're going to have special guest Amaris doing a comedy skit. And then we have Daddy Cash, which is going to be our special dancer at the end.
isn't it? Who's the host?
The host
MC?
is the State Theater.
And the MC.
And we have an MC, Mike Toast Roberts. He's a very good local guitarist involved in the community around here.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
I
a
thought we were gonna have no
fundraiser. It's
soliciting
all
here.
ages.
oh, stop
And it's
it.
February 14th.
Listen to this. No soliciting.
Yeah,
I
I thought
didn't
we
see
were
the
gonna have no
sign when I
soliciting on
walked
the show.
in.
Oh, I'm not soliciting.
Just
It's a
kidding.
free time. If it even airs by then.
Yeah.
Yeah, as
We
far
don't
as
Oh,
I
I
know.
thought-
Last show we did aired a day after our
Thanks.
show
I
or
think-
something. The show we were supposed to have.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, and
it
speaking
never
of
happened.
Facebook, we have a Facebook, the House of Plum. We also have a Twitter, and we have a email. It is
House of Plum
the
at
House-
Gmail.
House of Plum at Gmail. There we go.
Yeah, but I don't think anybody emails anyway.
Yeah.
As far as it's concerned, I think a good social media is kind of Skype, because in a way you're getting the social interaction in itself, even though you can't go to a far you know, you can't go to the person's house who lives in Kentucky or Florida, but you can still get that social interaction through Skype.
Yeah. What about Twitter though? Like,
I don't like Twitter.
have you been on Twitter?
No, I don't use Twitter.
I'm gonna tweet.
It's
Twi-
just
have we
tweet
tweeted
that.
your Twitter?
It's just like It's
No.
just like Facebook, a blow by blow. I'm sorry, don't
Actually,
need it.
it's not even. It's nothing like Facebook. Like
No.
Twitter is like.
It's a dulled down
like-
version of it.
It's basically it's like the whole status thing, but it's nothing but statuses.
Every
and
time I see it, I get hashtag hungry for hash browns. I don't know why. I see hashtag, I say, ooh, hash browns.
I don't get that. I don't get that part. That whole hashtag. You know, it's like, are you serious?
So
Like,
the
Why?
so
It's like-
the NSA can
That
group
gets so
words and
annoying.
search
It's like
engines
hashtag you suck. You know.
just to feed search engines.
That or let's see. I was using Twitter for a while, and
He was
while
tweeting.
that whole Amanda Bynes thing was going on, and it was like I was looking on there, then I saw these pictures, and they're like, oh, Amanda Bynes put these provocative pictures up on Twitter. It's like, whoop-de-doo. So does like everybody else on every social networking site too.
It
Before
gets
that, it
annoying.
was what, Polaroids?
Polaroids.
Yeah.
See, everybody has posted their lives on these social media networks and basically have opened their lives up.
Oh, Google
And
did
isn't
that
that
way
a-
before Facebook.
Well, I mean,
Honestly,
I'm
he's
talking,
right.
I remember even the days of like, you know, before all those social media things, you know, the AOL, I mean, you're putting your life out there.
Yeah,
And-
just
and-
to create an email service.
The
I
thought of
think-
modesty and
Yeah.
is gone.
Yeah.
The thought of modesty went out the
Yeah.
window the first day the email came out. I hate to sound so bluntly rude, but you know, it's
Or the chat rooms
completely
we used to go
obvious.
to all the time and type in, you
well,
know, and
no,
you would look for
even the
one that was-
emails. I mean, you got to put in personal information just to get an email up and running nowadays.
Right, but not just what you give the provider who's providing the service, but what you put out for everybody to read as well. Basically, if anybody wanted to know about your life, you don't need to get a private detective. You just go and Google the name, and next thing you know, you've got everything, maybe even their social security number. I mean,
Yeah.
we've opened social media up so much, and
It's
open our lives up
ridiculous. It
that
is.
you-
It
you're
is.
in- you know, you
There's no
invited the
personal
world
privacy
into your
anymore.
No,
circle.
there's not. It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
Well-
but you know, you do it with games too. I mean, your
Yeah.
social. That's what I'm talking about. Social interaction is now all digital.
Social interaction is actually becoming a lost art for some reason,
Yeah.
and it's not even. It's not necessary. It's not appropriate because socialization is just something that is necessary. If we all become antisocial, it's just going to be like, who's this person you speak of? And yet you're directly related to them.
I
Or her,
recognize your
or
avatar.
whatnot.
Yeah.
I recognize your avatar.
Avatar.
Do I know
don't
you?
I think I've seen
Well-
you before on some game, yeah.
Is that your
hate
hashtag?
to cut this short. We're getting short on time here.
Yeah,
Should we kind
so-
of wrap it up here?
Yeah. So let's
Should reintroduce everybody, new cast members.
Aaron,
Hello.
Tom, Josh, Frank,
Me, and
Alan. So since we got about 5 minutes left, I
Yeah.
just wanted, I want each person to name a celebrity that they're really annoyed with right now and they're sick and tired of hearing about. Starting with the lady.
Oh, starting with
Yeah,
me?
starting with Aaron.
A lady's choice. I want Alan to go first. He looks like he's ready.
You know, there's a lot of celebrities. If I had to put a marker on one, I'd probably say, I don't want to say Tom Cruise.
I don't want to ever hear another thing about the Kardashians, and I don't want to ever hear another thing about
they're always
about
on
Miley
my-
Cyrus and
they're-
her twerking.
They're
Okay.
they're always on my crap
know?
list.
Okay, I got it. How about Justin Bieber?
Yep,
Oh,
I was gonna
I'm
I
say the
hate your
same
guts,
thing.
so
and
sick
you
and
are
tired of hearing about
disrespectful
him.
to everyone that loves you. I hate you.
Has anybody created a video game yet with where you just shoot up
Nobody
all the
talked
Justin
about it.
Biebers? You know, that would be awesome.
Have you heard
I
of
don't wanna
Newgrounds?
play
I'll play that
I'm a
game.
I
believer
bet
that it
Newgrounds
is
has
awful.
something like
What
that.
about Justin Bieber, Kardashians, you know, all the stars that turn
No.
around and turn
crap.
Nope.
But what makes them famous is us hating on them like that. That's what
Yeah,
makes them
that just
popular.
boosts their
So if we
their,
don't even
numbers.
speak their name, they lose.
I think we should wrap this up right now. What do you think? I
We
don't
have
want
to
to
do a
talk about
rap
Justin
first.
Bieber anymore.
You know, like I said,
We
Well, who
thank
brought it
everybody
up?
for coming out today. We got a few minutes left.
yeah. So,
So how do they contact you guys and get their ideas onto here and present it to them?
Well, I don't know. That's something we can talk about later.
Yeah, put it out there. You got to say, you
Yeah,
know,
well-
watch our show and give us feedback.
all right, we
Well, I
do
think
want
we're
our
good.
feedback. We haven't got any emails from the last show, so
Yes, hit us
Check
up.
out the first one,
Social
too.
media.
yeah, use that social
Twitter,
media for
Facebook
your own
us.
good. You are the one empowering others.
What do you-
Empower us to be better. What do you want to see?
What do you want on the
Creativity.
show? Do
Yes.
you want more music acts?
Tell us a topic.
The
You
House
give
of
us a
Plum.
topic and we can play with
The
that.
House of Plum at gmail.com.
Should we
Get a
have
hold of us on Facebook.
Should
The
we have
House
a
of Plum.
Should
Dust
we
off
have
that
a-
email address and use it
Should we
again.
have
Yes.
a striptease or something? One episode?
We should have an outro dance.
No.
Do a conga line.
Oh,
Uh,
that would be
Dum,
bad.
so
That would be
we need
bad.
we need ideas.
Dum.
We need help. We need outside video work.
And it's viewers like you that keep public broadcasting in service.
That's
Exactly.
not MAT.
Huh?
That's not MAT. That's WNIT.
What is it?
NIT.
We're
We're
not
MA.
supposed to say that.
Nope.
Oh,
Well, they'll cut it off there. Show's already over.
Yeah. So
I said the initials.
yeah, that last part's gonna get
Oh well.
edited out.
You should have said a cuss word instead. That's a better thing to bleep out.
Then that's,
You blew it.
then that's gonna be on at like 2 o'clock
No,
in the morning.
they said that we're not, that we're MAT. We're not the other channel. That's what
Yeah.
they said not to say.
Yeah. Well.
And you just said it.
Exactly.
They never said we couldn't say WNIT. They
No,
said
we
we're,
could, they said we couldn't mention anything about it.
About what?
All the
TV
festive
series.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny.
Uh-huh.
really?
Yeah.
Oh. Why did? Oh well.
Hashtag oops.
Oh well.
Say goodnight, guys.
Oh.
All right.
All
Well,
right.
this is the
Hopefully we'll
second
see you
episode
again.
of the House of Plum. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Y'all have a nice day.
Peace out.
Laters.